Let's talk a little bit about the accounts receivable module. We'll just take a high-level overview of some of the basic capabilities of the system without diving into the weeds on specific processes. The accounts receivable module by default is a subcomponent of financials management. So I'll click on the financial management modules and you'll see in the upper left that AR is one of those subcomponents. Now there are subcomponents within that, but let's take a look at what those are. Obviously I can set up my customers, I can invoice customers and bill them, I can work with open invoices, I can receive customer payments, receive cash receipts either electronically, checks come in the mail, those types of things. I can make deposits. I could also set up recurring invoices. These would be invoices that on a regular interval, once a month, once every 3 months, these invoices kick in with an effective date. So that's another feature within accounts receivable. I could process recurring AR, so I can say which ones are due and process those to create documents that will become part of the aging. I can run banking transactions that involve accounts receivable, miscellaneous charges, those types of things. And there's also a billing work screen. The billing work screen will basically reach out to some of the other modules like manufacturing or sales management and create invoices automatically from activities that are occurring in those systems. Those could happen as pushes from the subsystem, so I could take a sales order and invoice it, or I can have that kind of come in from the billing work screen. So the billing work screen looks at a lot of information, jobs that perhaps when key milestones are hit can be brought in. So that's one of the major features of accounts receivable is billing, obviously, and it's a very robust module. I think if I show you some of these administration setup items, you'll get the idea. Planned invoices are just that. It's invoices with an effective date. So I could tell my customer, hey, I'm going to charge you $100,000 for the project, $10,000 today, $50,000 in 32 days, and the balance in 4 months. I can set that up ahead of time in the planned invoice architecture, and when those dates and so forth are due, those will automatically come into play. I can identify my business partners. If you have reseller channels or other types of channels, you can establish and manage those. You can have multiple companies. These would be other sets of books that you manage with UA under the same umbrella and get some intercompany type of accounting transactions. So identifying all the companies you have. So sort of the bill to, bill from, due to, due from. I can pay a bill for one company. Obviously that creates a payable in my system, but it also creates an AR in my system. It reaches out and creates a payable in the other company back to our company. So all those good things are controlled there. Customer delivery locations. Again, these are just setup elements in this administration folder that typically you only visit, here and there. Obviously, a little more when you're implementing, but over time you might set up more of these. Again, my goal here is just to give you some high-level overviews of the types of things you could do in accounts receivable without getting too deep into one specific process. Just a general overview. I could have different end users, so if I've got resellers, I might want to track who their end users are, OEM agreements, those types of things. Groups of customers and how we deal with that. Customers could have specific material-based pricing, so that way when I'm doing a sales order, their pricing comes from a matrix that can be superseding some other forms. The Dunning groups will control how people are billed when they're late. So you could tell the system that members of this group, if they're more than 30 days late, maybe we send out a friendly letter. After 60 days, the letter gets a little more dogmatic. We need our payment, and maybe after 90 days, it's turned over to collection. Whatever those scenarios are, you define them in the Dunning groups. You make customers members of the Dunning groups, and the system will respond and handle overdue, invoices through that process. Setting up finance charges, how you deal with people that are late, and do you assess finance charges on open balances are controlled there. Again, the intercompany GL matrix is used to establish the intercompany transactions, how the GL accounts relate to one another. You don't have to have the same chart of accounts in each company for that to happen. You could tell the system about the lines of businesses that you're in and have it track profitability and trends within each line of business. You can make manual tax distributions. You could have material pricing schedules where pricings are based on materials and or customer-based pricing. You could have material pricing schedules. You can define your sales regions, geographical breakdowns of the country or a country where your sales regions occur, maybe with people responsible for that. You can design the different aging groups that you have. Obviously 0 to 30, 30 to 60 are the common ones, but there's no limit to how many you can have when you run an aging. You might want to have an aging that's 0 to 10, which shows you, which ones are the most likely to come in the next week or so. And then, of course, the different terms that you apply to customers. Again, these are just setup elements that you typically visit just once or twice here and there. Under the reports, there's quite a few reports here. There's actually a lot more here than meets the eye, but here's just some that I have installed. Of course, agings. I can run those at any given point in time. I can age my recurring receivable, so I know kind of what's coming up based on my recurring. I can get annual totals. This function integrates with Excel and gives me some analytical capabilities to determine which customers over a time, line chart type way, are the most profitable. I can look at my cash receipts disbursement register, average days to pays analysis, cost center distributions, discounts that I've given, how much money have we sort of given in discounts, how much money has been taken, money based on freight, GL distributions that I've made, tax reports, customer statements. Again, these kind of play into the Dunning-Group's process, but statements that go out either electronically via email or through snail mail can be done as well. Profit center analysis, sales tax distributions that I've made for liability type reports. I can get a receivable versus payable type analysis. If I've got a customer who's also a vendor, I could tell the system that and compare those types of things, and then of course run more detailed sales tax reports. And finally, there's a collections architecture where I deal with finance charges and I bill people and then assess those finance charges. So again, all we did was we talked at a high level some of the things that the AR module can do. There's obviously a lot more. We just kind of scratched the surface on these capabilities, but I did want you to get a sense of the types of things that the AR module is capable of.